This is Daniel K. Eisenbud. I'm in Safra Square in the capital, about to meet with Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat to discuss the latest escalation in tensions between Israelis and Hamas and what he is doing to address the situation here in Jerusalem. As mayor of Jerusalem, what would you say to the international community right now as this conflict continues to escalate and rockets land outside of the city?
Well, first of all, if you notice and look at the statistics, no one in Israel has been hurt. So Israel knows how to very well defend itself. Simultaneously, while we know how to be cautious and make sure that we do the right procedures in case of an alert, the reality is that generally Israel is one of the safest places in the world. And if you compare crime rates, even where at the times that we're challenged, Jerusalem is practically, and Israel in general, is one of the safest places in the world. Naturally, it doesn't look like it on television, but the reality is that our crime rates are in Jerusalem are 1/10 the average crime in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago.
Although there are no casualties so far, obviously there is some danger. So what are you doing to keep residents safe at this point?
Well, it's a combination of a few things. Naturally, I think everyone understands that Israel is now, now that we have Iron Dome, practically we have shield that protects us from rockets, indiscriminate rockets. And what Iron Dome does, it knows how to differentiate between rockets that fall in open field and rockets that can create damage, and it targets the ones that can create damage. So the reality is that we have excellent protection. Side by side to that, the residents of Israel are well practiced to find shelter, and we practice that. So indeed, and God forbid if a rocket does fall inside a city, people are well protected and know how to take cover. And so the whole system as a whole gives us a very high confidence level in times of trouble.
In terms of tensions, growing tensions between Palestinians and Israelis here in Jerusalem, what steps are you taking to de-escalate and perhaps even try to build a bridge between the two factions?
Well, first of all, look what happened in the last few days. And we had a very unfortunate barbaric act of terror where 3 Jewish boys were killed, innocent Jewish boys were killed, murdered by terrorists. And then the next day after they were buried, we had an Arab boy killed by terrorists. And so that created lots of tensions and lots of grief, both for Jews and Arabs, all over the country and I believe all over the world. So by coming and saying, actually sharing with all the people, condemning it together, Jews and Arabs condemning terrorist attacks and killers that are using barbaric methods to hurt innocent children, it actually made sure that we all agree that we must push terrorists and extremists out of the picture. And generally what has happened in Jerusalem, there is lots of grief, and in some cases, in a few neighborhoods, there's also a bit of violence. So it's very, very clear that I'm fine with grief. I'm naturally fine with if people want to express themselves, but we cannot accept violence. So we've actually made sure people understand violence is not allowed, violence does not pay, and in essence, in the last few days, we have practically zero violence in Jerusalem, in spite of the fact that we still have violence in the south, in Gaza.
That said, do you think there should be any distinction made between the 2 Hamas operatives who allegedly killed the 3 yeshiva students and the 6 young men who were arrested for the murder of Muhammad Abu Kader?
Well, the answer is that we have to practically dismiss all of them and fight all kinds of terror, all kinds of criminal acts, regardless of the motivation. The motivation has nothing to do with it. Naturally, the Israeli law, and like every other international law, there's no doubt in my mind that Israel will do everything it can to punish the barbaric murderers the maximum the law allows.
So there is no distinction in your mind to the 2 murders? Both were acts of terrorism?
Both are acts of terrorism. There's no distinction between people that are going to kill innocent people just because they're Jewish or Arab or anything. It is unacceptable, and I, like the 95% of the majority of Israel, will defend that view.
As you know, a number of events, local cultural events, have been postponed because of the rocket fire, including the Woodstock Festival, which I believe is in its 6th year, as well as the Jerusalem Film Festival opening night. What do you say to people in the city about the postponements of activities right now?
Well, I think it's a responsible thing to do. We postpone the events for a week. I feel fine with that, and naturally, I think that the residents and the visitors that come understand that we care for their safety as much as we care for their fun and enjoyment. And hopefully next week things will probably be behind us and it'll be safer. So we don't want to take any too much risk on the residents. Look at the city. The city's alive. It's in we're working. The kindergartens are open. The schools are open. But big events we prefer to delay for a week just for that extra caution.
As a former elite soldier who fought in the Lebanon War, as a soldier, what do you think should be done right now in Gaza?
Well, I'll leave that to the Israeli government and the army. There's no doubt in my mind that they will know how to best deal with the situation, which is maximum protection for Israeli residents and maximum impact, targeting the militants without, as much as possible, without having any other innocent people getting hurt from the situation. That's what's happening today, and there's no doubt in my mind that it will continue. I strongly support and back up the Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government and the army. Let them do their job.
Last question. If you could directly address residents, for example, when the siren goes off, if it goes off again, God forbid, and as well as Palestinian residents of the city, what would you say to them right now?
Same. We've actually made sure that all people and all residents, including the municipality and all kindergartens and schools, practice the drill. And when there's a drill, you actually have to go to a secure place. There's a lot of them in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, if anything happens here, we go inside the building, go underneath the steps and find cover, wait for 10 minutes, and move on with your daily life. So it's not a big procedure to follow. And if we hear the sirens, that's what people have to do.
And in terms of relations in the city, what would you say to Arabs and Jews about the current conflict and escalating tensions?
Well, I'll tell you, the indiscriminate rockets don't know the difference between boys, girls, Muslims, Christians, and Jews. We're all at the exact same danger here, which is an absurd situation to be in. And the procedure is the same. We take cover in the same places, the same method. So there's in many, many ways unity and understanding that this is bad for all. It's bad for all residents, and there's no good. There's only bad in terror and in indiscriminate rockets. So we have to stop that, make sure that those terrorists have zero gain. As a matter of fact, we'll take them a few steps backwards in time, and they have to understand that the reality is that Israel is flourishing, Jerusalem is doing extremely well. It's a place that if you come safely and you come peacefully, you're going to enjoy it. If you're a Muslim, Christian, or a Jew, thank God the city's economy is flourishing, and that's exactly where we're going to continue on after this crisis.